My name is Brad Perot.
And I'm Audrey Perot.
And we have been married almost 12 years.
We met in college, our freshman year. So we were babies when we met. And we dated for 4 years, almost 4 years, before we got married. And both of our families are actually built on adoption. And so it was always part of our discussion in building our family. But talking about it is a lot different than actually doing it. My father and aunt were both domestically adopted, and Brad has 4 aunts that were adopted from Korea, as well as a biological aunt that had adopted a sibling group. It wasn't until we experienced some fertility issues that we decided, okay, this is the next step that we're going to have to take. We ended up getting surprised with our son, Sebastian, but having him almost solidified our desire to want to adopt.
We joined a Connect group in 2009 before we ever had kids. That Connect group then would end up adopting from Ethiopia, from Haiti. It's a very comfortable group to be in regarding adoption. It's second nature. It was definitely a call together that we were looking at a special needs program. And I'll be honest, to me, at first that was scary. But then, we started getting called to these different places, to Malawi in 2011. And I had known it was a special needs trip until they changed it right at the end. And it was just worked out so perfectly because it really changed my whole outlook. And Audrey and I both went to Haiti in 2012 working with Children's Hope Chest. And all of a sudden now there's something that was clicking, that was making sense in my own heart that wasn't there before. Being able to do that work in the mission field through Summit and other organizations grew our hearts to be able to bring adoption to fruition.
So pretty much the whole process for us was, how is this going to work? I actually got diagnosed with breast cancer, which only furthered our, okay, how is this really going to work? Not only do they tell you that you have cancer, they tell you that treatment will render you infertile, and that if you choose to want to try and have children, you have to harvest eggs, and you need to make this decision in 3 days. In addition to that, we were very worried the diagnosis would halt the adoption process.
There was a verse that came up during that time, the night before we had to decide whether or not to go through with the fertility treatments. I had one of those Bible apps that gives you a verse of the day. And so the verse of the day was Jeremiah 17, 7 through 8. And it's, blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They are like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes, its leaves are always green. It does not worry in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. And we looked at each other and said, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, we're gonna be okay.
We're gonna be okay. And we kind of were almost shaking at that point, because this adoption will happen, God's gonna provide, and we're gonna be okay.
I went through 2 major surgeries. I had 6 months of chemo. I had 7 weeks of daily radiation. And all through this time, we're waiting to be matched with our daughter. And we came home from my second to last chemo and got the call from our agency that we have a baby girl for you. To us, we're thinking, oh my gosh, this timing is all wrong. I'm not even done with chemo yet. I still have radiation to go. How is this going to work? But we spent the weekend praying about it, and we just felt like, okay, we need to do it. And so we called our agency that morning and we said, we want her. She's our daughter, but we have to tell you something first. We felt like the only way to honor her and to honor God was to be upfront with that information and accepting the referral. And our agency said, we're okay if you're okay. And she said, let's bring your daughter home.
Bring her home.
The day we first met her, we were with our guide, and he says to us, the director of the orphanage caught the early train, so she's just gonna bring the baby to the hotel. That okay with you? And he said, okay, well, go up to your room and I'll call you when they get here, and you can come down and meet us in the lobby. So we're sitting in the hotel room, and me being me, I'm videoing Brad, interviewing him about, what are you feeling right now? How are you feeling?
Nervous. But you're not, so we balance each other out.
Do you have anything you'd like to say to May before she gets here?
God brought you to us. And we acknowledge that the whole time. And He found a way for our family when it seemed impossible.
And then he turns the camera on me and starts asking me the same questions. But before I could answer, there's a knock on the door.
Okay.
The door?
I don't know.
And I just had this wave of relief come over me. She's here. We're together. It's all good.
Halfway around the world.
And I couldn't stop smiling. It felt like she'd always been there.
We finally get to meet our daughter March 17th. The actual day that the paperwork was signed, though, was March 18th. That's her official gotcha day. March 18th was exactly 1 year to the day Audrey got her cancer diagnosis. And I just kept thinking about that verse. You know, has no worries in a year of drought, but that never fails to bear fruit. Like, oh my gosh, you know.
We had our year of drought.
We had a year of drought, and God provided. You know, and there she was. Leading up to her corrective surgery she had, which was 2 weeks after we got home, a cleft lip and palate basically is when the embryo doesn't form all the way when it's in the womb. So it basically all comes in, and there's a small part that hasn't fully come together. So I kind of always thought, well, this is God's using us to fully form her, just like, you know, she was completing her family. She was always part of our family. It just took her 10 months to get here.
When we were faced with something and we knew God was telling us to move forward, we just said, yeah, okay.
We never purposefully put anything on hold. It all just happened. God just made it happen that way. And it all fell exactly into place, just like it was supposed to. He just kept showing up. Even in the darkness, during those times where she couldn't get out of bed, she was so sick. I'm like, what is this? What is going on here? God, why are you putting us through this? Yet, it was a constant reminder that that we're not without Him, especially how everything was falling into place. And in doing that, we realized that no one is, you know, because God's everywhere, and there's nobody He can't reach, especially beautiful little girls in China.